The world is filled with fascinating mysteries, bizarre oddities, and sometimes unfortunate unsolved cases. Some of these mysteries shock us, while some of them scare us. And today, let me tell you about a mystery that is shocking, fascinating, and heartbreaking. In this episode of Bizarre Bazaar, we are going to look into the case of Lina Medina, who is unfortunately the youngest mother in recent history.
You are watching Mystery Ministry.
Now, when I say the youngest mother, some people might assume someone who became a mother at the age of 12 or 10 in the worst case scenario. But you'd be shocked and even horrified to know that Lina Medina became the mother of a child when she was just 5 years old. You heard that right. Medina's own son was just 5 years younger than her. Reality can often be more bizarre than fiction, but there's a lot to explore in this case. Questions such as, how did this happen? How is this possible? And the most sinister of all, who was the father? All of these questions need to be answered. Let's first get to know about Lina Medina. Back in 1939, almost a century ago, a young girl in Peru was taken to the hospital. Her parents noticed that the child's belly was getting alarmingly big. They assumed that it must be some sort of tumor. But when the doctor checked this 5-year-old girl, he was beyond shocked. He reported to her parents that Lina was 7 months pregnant. Of course, this was not the diagnosis anyone was expecting. But that was the case. And this case created big sensation, with reporters, doctors, and just fascinated people rushing to the family, trying to see for themselves something so unbelievable and unheard of. It is hard to imagine what this must have been on the Medina family, and even harder to imagine what the little girl had to go through to be treated like a zoo animal, like a specimen, after all that she has been already through. At first, this was all regarded as a hoax, a made-up rumor used to get some attention. But then the doctor produced the picture of the 7-month pregnant girl, along with the X-ray scans of the fetus developing inside this girl. Suffice it to say that there was no doubt about this case, and Lina Medina made it to national news. Medical records and further analysis of the girl revealed that she started having her periods when she was just 3 years old. Some people suggest that she was having her periods when she was just 8 months old. But that seems unbelievable. Yeah, even for this case. After around 8.5 months of pregnancy, Lina Medina gave birth to a healthy and slightly prematurely born boy who was named Gerardo. She named the baby Gerardo after the doctor who helped Lina through all the procedures of childbirth. She was exactly 5 years, 7 months, and 21 days old. In fact, her son was 4 months old when she celebrated her 6th birthday. Sounds unbelievable, right? The only good thing about this whole incident was that her son, Gerardo, was a perfectly healthy boy with no medical complications. But sadly, Gerardo died when he was 40 years old in 1979 due to a condition of the bone marrow. Some people say that he suffered from bone cancer, but the cause of death cannot be confirmed. The first question that comes to mind when you read about this case is, how can a 5-year-old girl get pregnant in the first place? It truly is a medical anomaly and extremely rare for someone to get pregnant at that age, but not impossible. There is a very rare medical condition called precocious puberty that affects only a few in millions. In precocious puberty, the body starts releasing gonadotropin releasing hormones way before the right time, bringing puberty in childhood. The reason for this condition is still unknown, although some causative factors have been associated with it. Compared to other children, Black, Latino, and Native American children are more likely to suffer from precocious puberty. Lina, being Latin American, was one of the victims. The birth of the child was done via a C-section, as her body was not developed for a normal birth. Another question that loomed over everyone like a dark cloud was who was behind all this. While how she became pregnant could be explained, who did that to her always remained a mystery. The father of the child could never be found, no matter how much they tried. At first, the police arrested the father, Tiburello Medina, under the suspicion that he was the reason behind her pregnancy. But he was later released due to lack of any supportive evidence. Nobody knows who was behind this heinous crime, but if her father was innocent, I cannot imagine the pain he must have gone through to be put behind the bars on such an unfathomably disgusting accusation. Doctors and reporters tried to find out more about the father of the child, but everything was in vain. Poor Lina was not grown up enough to even understand what she was being asked. Her parents had no idea who could be behind all of this. At first, they accused one of Lina's cousins, but then he was dropped from the suspect list due to lack of evidence. Back then, any form of advanced analysis methods such as DNA testing was not available. In fact, it was almost after 20 years this incident that scientists found DNA to be the carrier of genetic information, and DNA testing in crime would come in 1986, almost 50 years after the incident. But there are some theories. Some people think that it must have been someone who lived nearby and was in frequent contact with Lina. It was already a trauma for the family to go through such a horrible thing. They did not want to answer such invasive questions and hence decided to stop talking to the press or the people. Lina later took a very discreet private life. Understandably, newspapers were not too concerned about the victims back then. They called her names, one being a witch or a witchcraft mother. She started working odd jobs, took a desk job when she was in her 30s. It's very difficult to find any pictures of her. These pictures that you see are the only ones available. We do not know whether she is alive or dead now, although most of the sources indicate that Lina is alive today. She married Paul Jurado, and she gave birth to another healthy child. Sadly, she lives in some village in Peru and in abject poverty. And that was all about the mystery. If you liked the video, then consider subscribing to the channel. We bring interesting mysteries every week. See you with a new mystery next week. Goodbye.